My family laughed at me for being poor, not knowing I was the one paying their bills. "You'll always be a useless nobody," my aunt laughed as they raised their glasses behind my back. I stayed silent until this morning. I never thought I'd post here, but after what happened at yesterday's family dinner, I need to share this. Just a heads up, this might be lengthy, but it's worth your time. Here's a bit of background. I'm Lucas, 29 years old, and I lost my parents in a car crash 5 years ago. They left me a small house and some savings, which I've been managing while also supporting my family. Aunt Karen, 52, Uncle Kevin, 54, and my cousins Brock, 27 male, and Marcos, 25 male. What they don't realize is that I've been the one keeping them financially stable through a trust my parents set up. Yesterday was just another Sunday dinner at Aunt Karen's place. Everyone was there, sitting around the dining table that my parents had given them years ago. I brought lasagna made from my mum's recipe. When I walked in, I overheard Aunt Karen talking to Marcos about his new headphones. "At least one of us knows how to treat themselves," she said while giving me a dirty look. I ignored it, as I usually do. Her comment was clear. I drive a 2012 Toyota that I've kept in great shape, live in a small apartment, and keep things simple. Not because I'm poor. I'm actually doing well, but my parents taught me to respect money. I even pay 70% of their mortgage, but they think it's from some government program. I never corrected them after my parents died. Dinner started off pretty normally. Uncle Kevin was bragging about his golf club membership that I secretly cover, and Brock was showing off his new smartwatch. Then Aunt Karen said something that really hurt. "Lucas, sweetie," she began all sugary. "Don't you think it's time to get a better car? I mean, that old clunker. What will people think? Your dad always knew how to look good." I took a bite of the lasagna. Again, the same dish she had just praised, without revealing that I made it because she thought I couldn't buy good food. "Leave him alone, Mom," Marcos said, but not helpfully. "Not everyone can afford nice things. Lucas is trying his best." His tone made me sick, coming from someone whose car payments I had been covering for 3 years. Then they started talking about their upcoming trip to Florida, a trip they hadn't invited me on. I just sat there silently, knowing the credit card they used was paid for by the family trust. "We really need this vacation," Uncle Kevin declared. "Some of us deserve nice things for working hard." He clinked glasses with Brock, both of them smirking at me. I held it together, but something shifted inside me when Aunt Karen spoke again. "You know, Lucas, you'll always be a worthless nobody, just like your father before he got lucky with his career. At least he figured things out. I'm not so sure about." The room went quiet. Even my cousins looked uneasy. They didn't agree with her, but didn't defend me either. My dad, their brother, was an amazing man who built everything up from nothing. He wasn't lucky. He was smart and worked hard, and he taught me to manage money and help family. I stood up calmly, cleared my plate, and said I had to work in the morning. As I was leaving, I heard them laughing in the dining room. Aunt Karen's voice rang out. "Maybe we should set up a GoFundMe for poor Lucas." More laughter followed. They didn't see me stop in the hallway. They didn't see me take out my phone and open my banking app. They didn't see me start calling my financial advisor. First thing this morning, they have no idea what's coming. I've been patient for 5 years, watching them waste my money while making fun of my situation, playing the role of the struggling cousin while secretly keeping their lives afloat. But yesterday something clicked. Not angrily, but clearly. I know exactly what to do. This is just the start. I'll update you when things start happening. Their comfy little world is about to get a wake-up call, and I won't feel guilty about it at all. Update 1. Thank you all for the amazing support on my last post. A lot has happened in the last 24 hours, and I need to share just how deep this situation runs. Some of you guessed parts of it, but the truth is even more frustrating. After yesterday's dinner drama, I spent the morning looking at all the financial records. I knew the numbers, but seeing them laid out hit differently after Aunt Karen's worthless nobody comment. Let me break down what my poor lifestyle has been funding. Their 4-bedroom house. I've been paying 70% of the $2,200 monthly mortgage, which is $1,540 taken directly from the trust I manage. They think it's some sort of government. Help for families of accident, victims, and never questioned it. Uncle Kevin's favorite golf club membership. It's $250 a month. He calls it business expenses, but he doesn't even have a business. And then there are my cousins. Brock's Jeep payments are $485 monthly, and Marcus's Honda payments are $425, both paid from the trust, and they think it comes from some insurance payout. But here's what really got me. This morning, I was on Instagram, and Aunt Karen posted photos of their Florida trip. The caption, "Some people know how to live life right. Blessed family vacation." The comments were worse. I found this exchange between her and Marcos. Marcos, "Can't wait. Too bad cousin Lucas can't join us." Aunt Karen, "Some people just don't know how to manage money, honey." Brock, "Maybe he should learn to invest like Dad." The vacation they were mocking me about. It costs $4,800, charged to the family credit card, which I pay for. Then it got better. This afternoon I dropped off some papers at their house. Nobody was home, but I have a key since I'm their emergency contact. While I was leaving the documents in Uncle Kevin's study, I noticed some emails printed on his desk. They're planning a big Labor Day barbecue, inviting everyone from the neighborhood, except me. The email thread was shocking. "Karen, we can't have Lucas there. His old car and cheap clothes will embarrass us in front of the Johnsons." Kevin, "Agreed. Tell him we're keeping it small this year." Brock, "Dad, that's kind of harsh." Kevin, "Life's harsh. He needs to learn to do better for himself." Next to those emails were quotes for a $155,000 kitchen renovation they're planning. Guess who they expect to pay for that? I sat in my car for a while after seeing those emails. Not sad, just fed up. I called my financial advisor again and spent 2 hours reviewing every single payment, account, and transaction from the past 5 years. The figures are shocking. House payments, $92,400. Car payments, $43,750. Various credit cards, $68,000. Emergency expenses, $31,200. Utilities and bills, $288,800. Total, $264,800. That's what my poor lifestyle has funded. Meanwhile, I'm living in my $1,200 apartment, driving my paid-off Toyota, and getting made fun of for being bad with money. The real kicker came tonight. My cousin Marcos just texted me, "Hey, cousin, hate to ask, but could you lend me $50 for gas? I'm tight until payday. I know things are rough for you, but maybe you have a bit spare." I looked at his Instagram while that text sat there. He posted a story 2 hours ago showing off his new $400 gaming headset. I didn't respond. Instead, I made some calls and set things in motion. The trust that's been funding their lifestyle, it's not as simple as cutting them off, but there are ways to do it legally and correctly. They think I'm just a pushover, the family disappointment, the broke cousin who can't manage money. That's fine. Let them think that for a few more days. I have all the proof, every payment, every transfer, every receipt, 5 years of records kept carefully. My parents taught me well, even if Aunt Karen thinks they just got lucky. Tomorrow, I start phase 1. I'll update once things are in motion. Update 2. Thanks for your patience with this update. The last 48 hours have been non-stop. Everything is now good to go. What happened at what's probably our last family dinner was incredible. After my last update, I spent days preparing everything, met with my financial advisor, documented every payment, and created a clear plan for the future. Then Aunt Karen called, insisting I come to dinner again. She said they needed to discuss something serious with me. I knew what I was walking into, but I went anyway. Time to see their true selves one last time. I arrived at 6 p.m. sharp. The first thing I saw was Aunt Karen's new granite, countertops being installed. The workers were just finishing up. Remember that $155,000 kitchen renovation I mentioned? Apparently, they decided to start early. With my money, of course. "Lucas," Aunt Karen smiled with fake enthusiasm. "Don't mind the mess. We're just doing a bit of upgrading. You know how it goes." "Well, maybe you don't." I nodded and walked inside. The whole family was there, dressed up like it was a fancy event. Brock was showing off his new smartwatch to Marcos, who kept looking at me with a mix of pity and superiority. Uncle Kevin pulled me aside before dinner. "Listen, sport. We need to have a serious talk about your future. Your attitude is affecting the family's image." The nerve of this guy, wearing the golf club polo I paid for, lecturing me about image. Dinner started off tense. They'd ordered pricey takeout on the family credit card, of course. Aunt Karen cleared her throat and made their announcement. "Lucas, honey, we've been talking as a family." She paused for drama. We think it's best if you skip the Labor Day barbecue and maybe future gatherings until you improve your situation. Brock at least looked uncomfortable. Marcos just kept eating. The Johnsons are coming, Uncle Kevin added. And their daughter just bought a house. We can't have you showing up in that car, wearing those clothes. It looks bad on us. I took another bite of my food, the food I was technically paying for, and waited. Plus, Aunt Karen continued, growing upset, your constant reminder of your financial troubles is just dragging everyone down. Maybe if you'd listened to your uncle about investments. I interrupted her for the first time. And which investments would those be, Aunt Karen? She stumbled. Well, Kevin, tell him about your investments. Uncle Kevin puffed up. My golf club membership has excellent networking opportunities. That's how investing works, boy. But you wouldn't understand at your level. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Those networking opportunities, they wouldn't happen to be the ones I've been paying $250 a month for, would they? The room fell silent. What are you talking about? Aunt Karen snapped. I smiled. Actually smiled. Let's talk numbers, shall we? Would you like to start with the mortgage, the cars, or the credit cards? Marcos laughed nervously. What's he talking about, Mom? Clearly confused, Aunt Karen quickly said, the house payments come from the government help after his parents. There is no government help, I replied calmly. There never was. It's all been me, through the trust my parents set up, every single payment. Uncle Kevin jumped up, his face red. Now you listen here! No, I interrupted. You listen. For 5 years, I've been the one paying for your mortgage, cars, bills, golf membership, vacations, everything. Brock dropped his fork. That's not... What's he talking about? Aunt Karen's face changed from red to white. You're lying! You can barely afford gas for that junk car! I started showing them screenshots, bank statements, transfer records, everything. The Florida trip you're planning? Cancelled. The kitchen renovation. Hope you made a good deposit. The Labor Day barbecue. Might want to rethink that. They exploded. All of them. Screaming, denying, threatening. Aunt Karen knocked over her wine glass, staining her fancy tablecloth red. Uncle Kevin yelled about lawyers, and Marcos just kept saying, "This isn't funny, man." Over and over, I stayed calm, let them tire themselves out. Finally, when they settled down, I stood up. Check your emails tomorrow morning, all of you. Everything will be explained, including a 60-day notice for new payment arrangements. Aunt Karen lunged forward, grabbing my arm. You can't do this to us. We're family. Family. I pulled my arm away. Family doesn't call each other worthless. Family doesn't exclude each other from gatherings. Family doesn't make fun of one another for being poor while secretly living off their money. I walked to the door, turned back one last time. By the way, that junk car of mine, fully paid off, unlike your cars, your house, or anything else you have. I left them shouting and crying. I got in my car and drove home. Their phones have been blowing up my own since then. Texts, calls, voicemails from threats to begging to promises to change. Too late. Everything is ready. Documents prepped. Lawyers on standby. Tomorrow morning they get the official notices. Final update. It's been a wild 72 hours since my last update. Get ready, because this is how everything went down. Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, the emails were sent. Detailed records of every payment, every transfer, every bill I've covered for the last 5 years, plus the official notice. All support ends in 60 days. I turned off my phone and went for coffee. When I turned it back on 2 hours later, I had 47 missed calls, 156 text messages, 13 voicemails, 28 Facebook messages, and 16 emails. Aunt Karen was the first to show up at my apartment. She didn't even knock, just started pounding on the door around noon. Lucas, open this door right now. You can't do this to us. I opened the door. She rushed inside, mascara running, waving her phone with the email showing. This is a joke, right? This has to be a joke. Her voice was loud enough to attract the neighbors. No joke, I said calmly. You have 60 days to find new financing for everything. We'll be broke. The mortgage, the cars, everything. How could you do this to family? Family, I laughed. Let's discuss family. Let's talk about calling me useless, excluding me from gatherings, and mocking my simple life while using my money. She switched tactics right away, crying and trying to hug me. We didn't know. We're sorry. We can change. No, Aunt Karen, you can't. The trust ends in 60 days. Everything halts. The mortgage, car payments, credit cards, every single thing. That's when Uncle Kevin stormed in. Apparently, she texted him my address. He was furious, veins bulging. You ungrateful little. He advanced towards me in anger. Bad move. One more step, I said calmly, and I'll call the cops. Then all the payments stopped today, instead of in 60 days. He froze, finally understanding the situation. My cousins showed up. Brock looked shocked, and Marcos fluctuated between begging and threatening. My car! Marcos kept shouting. What about my car? You have 60 days to refinance or return it, I answered. Not my problem anymore. But I just quit my job last week, he yelled. I plan to take time to find myself. Better start looking fast. The next few hours were chaos. Aunt Karen sobbing on my couch, Uncle Kevin pacing and making calls to his golf buddies for loans, Marcos panicking about his car payments, and Brock sitting there, staring blankly. Then Aunt Karen tried one last tactic. Your parents would be embarrassed by you. The room fell silent. I went to my bedroom, grabbed a folder. Inside were letters from my parents outlining how the trust should be used. For real family emergencies, for schooling, for health issues, not for golf memberships and fancy vacations. My parents, I said softly, taught me the value of money. They worked hard for everything they owned. They set up this trust to assist family in need, not to fund your lifestyle. They'd be ashamed of you, not me. That broke her down. She collapsed onto my couch, truly sobbing now. The fallout was swift. The kitchen renovation company called about their deposit. Aunt Karen cancelled it. Uncle Kevin lost his golf club membership for unpaid dues. Marcos is stressed about finding a job. Brock came to me privately, apologized, and asked for tips on budgeting. But here comes the best part. Remember my parents' old house, the one they lived in before moving to a bigger one? I bought it outright. I've been fixing it up quietly for months. Just yesterday, I moved in. It's smaller than Aunt Karen's house, needs some renovations, but it's mine, completely paid for. This morning, I drove past their house in my junk car. The fancy granite countertops were being taken out. I suppose the check bounced. I saw Aunt Karen standing in the driveway watching the workers. She didn't wave. Their Labor Day barbecue. Cancelled. The Florida trip? Refunded back to my account since it was my card. Their social media has suddenly gone quiet. The trust ends in 58 days. Now they race against time to refinance everything. But with their credit scores and income? Good luck. I'm done. Not mad anymore. Just finished. My parents worked way too hard for their money to let it go to waste like this. I'm going to honor their memory by living as they taught me, within my means, helping those who genuinely need it. Going forward, I'm using the trust funds to create a small scholarship for local kids. My parents would have loved that. Oh, and that Toyota they laughed at? Just had it detailed. It runs perfectly. If you enjoyed this Reddit story and want to hear more, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more thrilling content. Your support means a lot. Thank you for being part of this journey.